Welcome to You Transformed, where you will transform yourself and manifest a new destiny. If you are ready to do the work to cross the river of change to the greatest version of yourself, you're in the right place. Now let's get to the show. Welcome back, everyone, to You Transformed. Today, my father, Jon Hodge, is with me again for an awesome episode. We're going to be talking about an Akashic record reading that allows you to understand your original soul blueprint and also your earth realm blueprint at this moment in time. So, Dad, I know you've been really getting into this. It's not new to you so much, but you've been putting a lot of time and energy behind it. You did a full chart for myself and for some other people in our group already. And we want to talk about all this now, even if someone doesn't have a chart in front of them, because it's very, very interesting. Tell me about kind of how this resurfaced recently in your life.
You know, we've been working on with You Transform now for a few months, since we knew this was the direction we needed to go with our life. And, I've been focusing on these things, focusing on what I can do in helping us create a path for an individual to learn and understand who they are, how they're made up energetically, what's maybe holding them back. And I have been working with Akashic Records for quite a while now. All of a sudden, that just came into my mind. I mean, what am I doing? I can look in there and go, I can tell them, this is your blueprint. And these are the things that you need to be centering yourself in. That's why I brought it back up and started working on it again. And I didn't know it. I actually didn't know at the time. I really have a very strong feeling that, of course, I looked at this originally for now, right. back in that time. I've always kind of been interested in Akashic readings, and I got to a point where I can get into the records. And I found out since I've been reading, I've done enough of these now that I have 100% confidence in the data that's coming through. All the readings that I've made have really matched up.
Yeah, they really resonate and match up with everything else. Like a couple episodes ago, we talked about personality type assessments. We're really looking at the human mind level in one incarnation. And then last week, I had a human design unpacking, which is like the energy suit that you choose for an entire lifetime. And this is going all the way to the depth of the truth. I mean, we're talking your original soul blueprint. Honestly, it's like a cheat code to me. It's like you're able to get all this incredible information, and it's available, of course, to anyone. But the Akashic Records, if you want to explain it a little bit more, it's kind of like a search engine or Google for the entirety of the universal history and even current moment. You could say, of course, everything's in the eternal now. But could you explain just a little bit more what the Akashic Records are?
Sure. The Akashic Records are an energetic library of everything that your essence. Let me define a couple of things. Essence is the fractal that the source casted off or created that you are, but you are also a soul. A soul is a fractal of the essence that's going through incarnations. The essence can have many, many fractals incarnating in different realms, all in the moment at the same time.
So we're going to be talking about original soul blueprint then, not the original essence blueprint.
We're going to be talking about both, really. I don't want to complicate this, but the essence, you are the essence. You're a fractal of the essence, but you are the essence. And the essence has an original blueprint of energies, an energy makeup that it was given at creation. And that energetic makeup stays with that essence all the way through until it's reabsorbed into the creative mass or the source. So all the fractals have the same original blueprint. Does that make sense?
They all have the same original potentiality, but some of their blueprints are slightly different than others, right? Which is what you're going to talk about in a second. Like there's actually a level of uniqueness to each fractal or to each soul, right?
There's a level of uniqueness to each essence. And then there is a level of originality, individuality to each soul.
Okay. Well, I didn't even know you were going to bring up the essence aspect of this, which is an even deeper layer. So we'll talk about the original soul blueprint. But what you're saying is there is a potential difference, even though from your essence's original blueprint? Because your essence could potentially have what you could call lots of different souls.
Yeah, your essence, it's your higher self is keeping all of this information. As your soul comes down here and goes through lifetime, it goes back and the essence collects that information. But there's lots of different souls that can be with one essence, can be from an essence. Each soul can be unique because of its experiences. You see what I'm saying? When you were created, your soul was cast off. It had the same energy makeup if it had no lifetimes at all. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It was just a fractal. And then it started having lifetimes, and then it becomes different. Yes. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Just wondering, for anyone who doesn't know, how do you actually access the Akashic Records? Is this some sort of superpower that you have that no one else has?
No, it's not really a superpower. It's about you have to be in the moment when you do this. You have to be neutral. You have to follow universal law when you go in. Have to have the permission of the individual to go into the record. If I don't have the permission, I would not get accurate information at all. So I need whoever's permission to go in, and I need to be in the moment, because if I'm not in the moment in a neutral position, I can sway the outcome of the information that's coming in. So you can't go into the records and have a judgment or an opinion on what you're getting or about the person you're getting it for. You have to be a clear channel for that information to come through, and you have to observe free will, the rights.
Why do you think someone would actually want to get one of these Akashic Record readings done? How could it help them?
What it does is like what we're doing, we can establish your energy makeup, which gives you the blueprint for your design. And when you understand what your blueprint is or what your energy makeup is, you can align your choices in those gifts. The energies are different percentages in your makeup, and you align yourself with your primary energy and your secondary energy within your energy pattern. And when you go into coherence with those things and you're making choices that way, that's how you get greater and greater amounts of source energy, and your manifestation abilities and everything just really falls into place when you're working with your primary energy centers that you were designed with.
Absolutely. I think metaphorically, it's looking at like receiving the keys to your own vehicle. And then let's say you have a future vision or something you're wanting to consciously create in this moment in time in your life. You now really know who you are. You just then choose to cross the river of change. You still have to do the work of removing blocks and restrictions and bringing about this new version of yourself that you know you are and leaning into it. But knowing what your key divine qualities are, your role in this particular life, and your goal and your mode and your attitude, these things are, like, again, kind of like cheat codes. They're just super helpful information to start you off definitely on the right foot. I think it's very, very helpful. You did a reading for me, a chart, you could say, and I've really appreciated that. So let's get into the original soul blueprint side of things, talking about these divine qualities. And there's 8 that you use in the chart. Would you like to talk about these some and kind of what they are?
Yeah, there's 8 primary energies that your original blueprint is made up of, and these stay with you throughout all incarnations, from the time you were created to the time you're reabsorbed. These qualities are compassion, manifestation, order, love, communication, truth, power, and wisdom. What we find is 1 or 2 of these energies are going to be the primary percentage of the energy in your makeup. And those would be the ones that you want to align yourself with. You have all of these energies in you, but they're different percentages. So imagine what Source does. Source creates a essence, and everyone has a different makeup, of these 8 energies. So that's how Source is doing that. So, we could call them a divine, since it's an original divine thing within you. What your primary energy is your gift. If you're a very compassionate person, if you feel very compassionate about things, that's more than likely that is, that's one of your primary centers. So you need to align yourself in that. When you don't do that, it reduces your abilities to manifest and be creative in the way that you were designed to be. I mean, if you're a compassion person and you're trying to work in one of these other areas, certainly you can use these other areas, but you won't get as much energy out of that as you would using your compassion.
Yeah, I think the really, really helpful aspect of the chart would be on the original blueprint. I mean, everything is helpful on it, but because you can listen or look over these 8 divine qualities and probably just meditate upon it and see what resonates for you. But having a confirmation of it again through a chart like this is extremely helpful. As like you said, let's say you have higher percentages of divine compassion and divine love. Like that's just your soul blueprint, and that's who you are. That's amazing. That's unique to you. Of course, you have the other things as well. But to this point in your life, maybe you're expected to have like a math or science job or do accounting or something that's a very different use, you could say, of your capabilities. And you're just highly diminishing the amount of source energy and just a flood of energy that could be coming through you. If you were to really recognize that, then of course it's easy for you to fall into your life's purpose and you have a tremendous amount of energy flowing through you. And did you want to give, for an example, your 2 primary divine qualities and talk about it?
Sure. My primary center is divine love. It makes up 27%. And I have a secondary. People will either have one primary that could be up to close to 50%, or they can have a couple of different ones. And I have 2, divine love and divine order. Divine order is 24%. So, those are my primary ones. And then the rest of them make up lesser percentages and smaller percentages, make up the rest of my energy pattern. So when I do things, I try to orient myself in using my love and using the order. And when I do that, I'm happier, have more joy in my life. I manifest very rapidly. Everything works out, just really works well for me.
Yeah, what's pretty amazing is you working on this soul and earth realm blueprint reading and chart system is an exact example of you using your 2 primary divine qualities of love and order.
Yeah, that really is me in action. The other things is, through our martial arts, I'm really good at order, putting stuff together and teaching it, which teaching is another characteristic of an order, but also being highly on the spiritual side in martial arts. Those 2 things, when I figured that out, even that career took off also as examples. What happens is when people are initially waking up, they're waking up to something different in the world. And they know they're a spiritual being and they're starting to study spirituality and they're looking for the answers. What happens is they can really drag things out when they're kind of not connected good and they keep getting off into the wrong areas.
Right.
And I can relate to this in my life, getting into things I shouldn't have been in. So that's another place that this really helps. Well, probably for anyone, it doesn't matter what level, but for people who are trying to find the answers and trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B and manifest what they want to manifest in their life, in coherence with a coherent structure. And it would be good for them to find out their orientation, their energy centers, and start working with them as much as they can in everything that they do, making positive choices based in that.
Absolutely. I completely feel, even before you did my chart, if I just looked over the 8, I already would have chosen manifestation and love for myself, which are the 2 that you actually found out, which was really cool. Yeah, in my life, if I'm not creating new things that are loving and service oriented, because also my earth realm role is server, I just don't feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose, basically. And I don't feel as happy. And if you give me a bunch of menial administrative stuff or boring things that aren't creative or the ability to make something new from scratch, it diminishes and lowers the amount of energy that flows through me dramatically. And I just don't like it. So it's good to, be aware of these things. And when you tap into them, everything grows magnificently. So that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So, what we do with the reading is we find your primary and secondary if you have it. And then we tell you, these are the positive qualities of this. And this is what you need to align with, and how to do it. And these are negative things that you do that hurt this.
The negative pole side, it's actually really good to see.
The negative poles. So we give you the positive and the negative poles. for your primary and secondary if you have it. So you can align yourself a little easier in what you're doing and work with it. And that really helps to have that information. We can even tell you what the percentage of positive choice is you're making in these areas, just to give you a gauge.
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing information for sure that you can ask. Well, I'm going to move on the same side of the original soul blueprint, soul group. Can you talk about what soul group means, or if it has anything to do with star seeds? Some of our listeners might have heard of terms like that.
Well, a star seed is a term for this. A soul group is where a soul originates and then moves on to somewhere else. It's a realm. If you think about this reality that we're in, it's actually all energy. And then we have these different energetic realms. And we call those star systems or planets. That's the material form of these different realms. That's what I call them. Those are labels, So star seeds are going to be souls that originated in another realm, another planet, or another star system. And they came from that star system to here. There are several systems in our galaxy that can come here, but they all have to be fairly close to the same vibration, same frequency as this planet.
Because my assumption is other galaxies and other dimensions and things like that could just be so dramatically different. It would be very hard to acclimate energetically if they were to move realms.
Right, because if you come from one of these places to another, you have to be able to adjust, because the frequency of all these places is different, but you have to be able to adjust your frequency as you come in. They're within a range that you can go from one place to another. Most of the souls on this planet are Earth souls, were actually originated here on Earth. And the people coming in from other realms or other planets and systems are 33% of the population, and the Earth souls are 67%.
Okay.
That's what the records indicate. So most of the folks that are waking up right now are what you would consider a star soul or star seed, because they've had previous experience. The way you have to look at this is, before you came here, you graduated a school even before you came here.
Like, you're going to get into the Earth realm blueprint in a moment, and they basically already did that somewhere else, is what you're saying.
Yeah, somebody that came in from another group. My soul group is Arcturian. Mm-hmm. And I actually went from Arcturus to Mintaka, which is another planet that you can come from here.
Right.
I stayed there a very short time, but I went through all the cycles at Arcturus, and then I guess I was taking some little short course at Mintaka. And then I went
Not sure if it was a vacation or not, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked into any of that. That's another deal. There's so many things you can look at in this, you have to kind of stay focused. Yeah. Then I went from there to here, to the Earth realm.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about this is all of these places that you come from have characteristics that really shine through. Your original soul group, if you stayed with it for a while, all the way through the cycles, it reflects through. It kind of reflects up into this incarnation or into your incarnations here.
Yeah, so it would have colored your soul even throughout all of your Earth realm lives.
That's right.
Just like your higher percentage divine qualities does the same.
Right. So we take into account the higher qualities of the original blueprint, plus the qualities of the soul that comes from this area. It's really interesting because the first time I started getting into this, I pretty much knew where I was from before I started that. But, I started looking into the records and found these qualities that are, it's what I am. It's pretty spot on.
I read about mine as well from Vega, or being a vegan. Yeah, and it was really spot on as well. Yeah, it was funny.
Really, that's the amazing thing, I think, all the time when I get into these things, is how you look at these things. It was really amazing to see how closely I align to these qualities, and how everybody I've read so far, once you look at their chart and look at them, you go, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just like a personal approval relevancy bias where you're trying to make it correct for you. Because I read Arcturus and things like that, and it just doesn't describe me very well. But everything that you found in the chart for me does. I was wondering, we could move on to one last thing before we go to the Earth realm blueprint. and which is vibration. Can you talk a little bit about the numerical scale of vibration that you are using in this chart and what that would mean?
The scale that I'm using is a 10-dimensional system. Of course, here in the earth plane, this system starts out at the third dimension, which is solid. All the solid materialized things here. And then we go to the fourth dimension, which is the realm of energy. We start getting into energy where, thought. We're fourth dimensional because we have the ability to think and we recognize who we are, and we have this attachment, of course, to our higher essence and things like that. But we have this fourth dimensional aspect.
So would 3.0 to 3.9 be physical matter, like trees?
That's physical matter.
And like 4.0 to 4.9 would be like humans who are not yet in connection with their higher self. But obviously there's a mental plane. There's places you go to in between life and death. There's something more than just physical matter moving around.
Yes. Okay. So, 4 to 4.9, that's where all your relatives, right when they pass or hanging out, stuff like that.
Hanging out there.
Yeah.
Might see him as a ghost every once in a while.
Yeah. There's 5 to 5.9, and that's fifth dimensional. And that's really where the planet is headed right now. Mm-hmm. Earth is just now getting into fifth dimensional plane is being activated right now in the earth realm. So we have people who are waking up and who have achieved their fifth dimensional aspect, which is your fifth dimensional is where your higher self is hanging out, or part of your higher self. So people who are waking up and really keying into their spirituality and starting to live in the moment and manifest in the moment are in the fifth dimension. They've woke up.
A big part of it is opening the heart center, which gives you access to the higher chakras, like 4th through 7, which are divine creation type chakras, rather than the lower third, 1, 2, 3, which are for survivalism based at 3D, 4D.
As far as I know, you can be in the fifth dimensional vibration, the very low end of it, at the low scale, and you're just becoming aware, awake and aware of this, of what's going on. It's kind of like you're beginning to get access.
Are some people born in the high 4s, you think, and then in their lifetime they actually cross over to that?
Oh no, there's
low
people.
5s.
There's people born in the 5th. I mean, I was born in the 5th,
right?
And so are you, and several other people, but lots of folks. But we're star beings, you and I, and that has a lot to do with it too. Star seeds wake up have a higher vibration rate. A lot of times when they just come in or they birthed, they come out like that. The people who are in the 4s right now, or most of them, I don't know how many are, I haven't checked that in the record, but most of them are not connected to their higher self yet, and they're very much living in day to day. They're not connected. They're just bumping against the wall, let's put it that way. And I'm not trying to judge anybody, by the way. I mean, that's not a judgment. That's just...
We've all been there. It's just part of experience.
Yeah, we have. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, you've got 5 to 5.9, and that's where the vast majority of the awake people are at right now. A 10th is a lot. 5.1, 5.2. There's quite a bit of difference between 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4. There's quite a bit of difference there.
Yeah, you can even measure it at the 100th, and it's still probably significant.
Yeah, I can also measure it at the hundredths. Another property is when you align with your original primary centers, and you get really in line with them, and you start creating lots of positive choice, that will move your vibration up pretty quick. You'll start moving up what would be considered rapidly up against someone who is running around in circles. I mean, struggling at a level.
And you're also, because you're increasing the utilization of those primary, divine energy centers, which you also have even numerically tracked before, just maybe playing around testing on my chart, which is really interesting.
Yeah. What I do is I go in and I look at the average energy that you use in your primary and secondary systems. And then I look at the percent positive choices you're utilizing in these energy centers. And that gives you an idea of where you're at. How often am I making a positive choice?
Yeah.
What it is, it's an awareness thing. I just wanted to bring that up to people's awareness. But you're at this level, you can get better.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move into the Earth Realm blueprint. So that was the original soul blueprint all the way through, the soul's experience. And then we're talking about specifically right here now in the Earth Realm. This is going to be for your entire journey until you graduate the Earth Realm, like you said. And some of the things are going to be specific to, well, actually, all of these are going to be specific to, just the entire journey, not just this particular life right now, I believe, right? These are actually going to be all the way through. Just wanted to point that out. I think that's important. I think that sometimes, like, especially when you hear role, for example, they might think, okay, that's just for this lifetime. But you're saying this is the role for your whole Earth Realm journey, right?
Yeah. When your soul comes into this system, you select a role that you're going to have through all the lifetimes, through a full cycle, from beginning to end. So these roles are priest, artisan, server, scholar, king, and warrior.
Yeah, it honestly sounds a whole lot like playing a video game. Like choosing, your character almost, and then playing it all the way through. Because Source wants to experience lots of different things.
Yeah. Let's say you're a server. So you're going to have the qualities. It's not like a job, but server indicates a set of qualities that you have through all of your lifetimes. Those stay pretty set. And here again, you can have positive and negative. You can use that positively or you can use it negatively. So that stays consistent throughout this entire cycle. I call one cycle, you may have thousands of lives in a cycle. So within this cycle of lives, the next thing would be soul age. Soul age would be levels, indicates a level that you're at, working at. And there's 7 levels. And we start at infant is the first level. Then it's baby, youth, mature, and old, transcendental, and infinite. You come in as a server, and if it's your first time of ever coming in here as a server, you start at the infant level, which means you never experienced anything in this role. And you're going to have to go through 7 levels in each one of these soul ages. And all these levels have different drivers to them or different things that you have to master.
And within each level, you could, obviously live multiple lifetimes and everything, right?
Right. What happens is, let's say you're a server and you're an infant and you come in at level 1. Well, what that is that's a soul that's birthed in and probably doesn't live but just a couple of years. It's so new. It's just learning what to do.
Okay.
So, that soul may spend 1,000 lifetimes. Just what they're doing is they're gathering experience each time and understanding how to operate this way each time they come in. Like a level 1 infant would be examining the new age. It's their first examination of existence in this realm.
Mm.
If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah. And just to point out, because we talked about this, so someone who's a star seed who has already graduated from another realm, he said it's quite likely that they would end up going through the levels faster and maybe choose to do other realms or do the realm again, maybe with other roles and things like that.
Yes, that's correct. It's like you already have a master's degree in something else. So you're used to studying and you know how to study and you know how to move forward. They just have a whole lot more experience and knowledge. A star seed or a soul from somewhere else will come in and move a lot quicker through the soul ages and through the levels.
Would you like to share the percentages of the soul ages currently in the Earth realm? Because that's kind of interesting to me. And again, also, no one's right or wrong or better than anyone or anything. It's just literally, like you said, neutral information, like where you happen to be at this moment in time in this realm. I mean, this isn't the only existence that you're, concurrently living anyway.
The percentage of souls on the planet for each one of these soul ages, infant souls, there's 3%. Baby souls, there's 6%. Young souls, there's 68%. Mature souls, there's 22%. And there's 1% old souls.
And there's 0% transcendental and 0% infinite, right?
Correct.
And the Earth realm.
That's correct.
At this moment in time.
There's some of them outside the Earth realm.
Right.
Or in the higher levels. And they're the ones that are helping us, supporting us.
And just really quick, transcendental, could you give an example of what that is?
Transcendental would be like the Christ consciousness level, and infinite would be like the Buddhic level.
So when either of those incarnations happened on Earth, you could have had a check mark or a tick mark for those categories at that moment in time, right?
No, I don't think so. I think any of these souls were an old soul, but they did so well that they had transitioned to a transcendental pretty quick.
Okay.
Afterwards.
It makes sense. Soul age and levels within each one. What about goal? So this would be goal for the entire Earth realm experience then, right? Not just for this life? Or is this for this life?
Okay, now the rest of these that we're going to talk about are characteristics that the soul can set before they come in with each lifetime, and they're adjustable. So your role stays the same, and you move through these levels, but each lifetime, you're going to have these characteristics that we're fixing to talk about are going to be reset to create change and create the direction you're trying to go in. Okay.
What about the first one, goal?
Goal is something you're trying to learn how to navigate with over that lifetime. Over your lifetime, you want to learn how to work with this. I'll give you the goals here. The first goal is reevaluation. Second one is growth, dissemination, acceptance, submission, and dominance. So you'll only have one of these.
So just as in with the divine qualities, there are also positive and negative polarities, right? That you list for all of these things that we'll be talking about for the Earth Realm blueprints.
Yeah, there's positive and negative choices you can make in any of these, in your goals, your molds, your attitudes, the ones that we're fixing to talk about. And of course, you want to try to keep them in the positive,
right?
To excel, so you don't spend so many lifetimes.
Would you like to share your goal for this life?
My goal is, yours is submission.
Mine's submission. Submission, from what I understand, it's like really going all in on a particular life mission, you could say, like really making it my mission to help others transform themselves or something. It's like really submitting fully to the proliferation of some particular mission or accomplishment, I think is what submission would be.
Yeah, and mine is acceptance. Accepting things as they are, learning how to live in the moment, letting go, allowing, just accepting things.
What about mode? Could you explain the different modes and what that means?
You set a mode for yourself that you have to work through using positively. If you use it negatively, it works against you. It's your mode of operation.
So it's like your modus operandi or your perspective on things?
Yeah, your perspective on things is what it is. So the modes are caution, power, repression, passion, perseverance, aggression, and observation.
Okay.
And my mode is repression.
How could that be? It sounds negative almost. What's the positive side of it?
Learning how to accept and not rejecting things. If you have a mode of repression, it's like rejection. If on the negative side, I can reject things before I should. I can look negatively upon things without giving myself space and time, to figure something out or to feel it intuitively. That's one of the things I've learned, is to feel intuitively and not reject things with immediate action.
That makes sense. So the next one's attitude. How would you define what that means regarding our attitude, and what are the ones that you want to list?
Attitude is kind of like a way of how you be, how you're being, kind of like your general way of being.
Okay.
Here's the attitudes. The first one is stoic. Second one is spiritual, skeptic, idealist, cynic, realist, and pragmatist. If I'm skeptic, I'm skeptical of everything.
Yeah, that's just how you are by nature in that life.
Yeah, it's kind of like the nature of what you are in this lifetime. Or skeptic, or idealist. You're living in the ideal of things all the time. Cynic, being too cynical. So, the positive side of that is the realization that that's an attitude that you do have. And you can look at things sort of like a cynic. You can look at things kind of like with a cynical eye to think about them. But here again, this goes back to that concept of you have to hold space and time and look at something with your divine self.
Right.
Hold yourself back and not make that cynicism, drop into that.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is super helpful for someone to get a reading like this and then to have that come out.
Yeah.
Mine is spiritualist or spiritual, which I believe yours is as well, which is why we're so used to not getting stuck inside boxes, or it makes it easier for us just to realize that there are any number of other ways you could consider how something is, rather than just because it seems to have been the status quo or something.
The negative side of that is like getting on a soapbox and preaching. Maybe not even religion or anything else, but
no, being on your high horse of you thinking some incredibly different way that no one else has yet discovered.
Right.
So you make a podcast and make 33 episodes about it.
So the next characteristic you're able to change at each lifetime is called your chief obstacle.
That one sounds fun.
It is, yes. So the first one is self-depreciation, arrogance, self-destruction, greed, martyrdom, impatience, and stubbornness.
Oh, that's some good stuff.
Yeah. So, mine is self-destruction. And yes, I have lived. I look back at things now. I see how I brought that up in my life over and over and tried to destroy myself. Fortunately, I haven't.
Right.
I overcome that. I've overcome that destructive nature. But, that's like alcoholism. Let's see how many cases of beer we can drink, in a week.
Right.
That's self-destructive, or just anything like that. There's lots of ways to be self-destructive. Yours is impatience.
Impatience, yeah. Yeah, I think, and both of us, of course, have had to work through these, and not that, we're totally perfect, but I think if you're like higher soul ages, or you've had more lives in the realm, you probably move through them faster, or maybe at an earlier age in your life, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely improved a lot in it, but I'm a patient person, but I tend to move fast and do things a lot faster than people around me. And so, yes, I definitely have had that experience for sure.
Yeah. The next characteristic is called the sinner. And this is kind of how you react to things and center yourself. And they're instinctive, higher moving, emotional, intellectual, higher intelligence, and higher emotion. So for me, I'm instinctive. I'm really good with my instinctive side, and my intuition is really, really strong. And yours is, what was yours?
Mine's intellectual.
Intellectual. And yes, you're very intellectual.
Definitely.
Here again, these are neither good or bad. They're just something to remember about yourself and understand.
Yeah, it's a big strength that you and I have that's a center, right, in this lifetime. Right. But also, for example, I've been leaning into engaging my intuition much better, my instinct much better, which of course I have full capability of doing that too. So it's just somewhat of a little harder to reach to, almost, you could say, because of the fact that it wasn't the primary center of this life. That doesn't mean it can't be activated.
Right. You can work any of these,
Right.
It's just the ones that is your nature. I mean, that would be a good way to put it, is your nature is to be intellectual.
Right.
My nature is to be instinctive. Mm-hmm. That's just the way that is for us. And the last characteristic that you change every lifetime is your body type, of course. You want to set up your body type for a certain way of feeling and perceiving and receiving and putting out energy.
Okay.
Into the world.
It even has somewhat to do with the way it looks, right?
Right. The body types are Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune, because those are the bodies within our system around soul here, our Earth Sun, that have the most impact energetically. So when we're born into a certain date, there's actually an energetic pattern that's inlaid at the time of birth. And some people call it, read charts on that kind of information also.
Could you give an example of a body type? Actually, we have the same body type, so you could give that as an example.
The Mercury?
Mercury, yeah. Admittedly, I was surprised. I thought that we had different body types regarding the blueprint design. I really thought so.
Well, I was kind of surprised too. I was expecting something a little different. And we do have some differences. But like in a Mercury body type, we tend to be active and creative, thyroid, speed, good at communication and intellect. Well, let's put it this way. When I was younger, you and I were a lot alike as far as my energy and my creativity and everything. As I've gotten more mature, be a way to put it, I've worked on a lot of this.
Right.
And you realize, being with me all these years, how much I've changed.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a very, very different person now than I was. So
you're a mature Mercurian, so.
But, all of these have a set of physical characteristics to them too that are sort of very general. We give a list of those things along with the readings.
I think this was super helpful. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add before we close out our episode today, but there was a huge amount of information regarding, someone's totality of their soul path and this particular realm. And I'll add a few things about how they can actually get a reading if they'd like. But do you have anything else you'd like to add before I do so?
I'd just like to say, we've been through a lot of information here. I mean, I could spend a long time talking about all this and how it works, but the reading is very simplistic, actually. We've broken all this down and put it in a format that's very easy to understand. Once you get a reading, I give you an unpacking on that reading in a very simple way to help you excel with the reading and move forward in a very positive way for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, if anyone is interested in getting their original soul blueprint and Earth Realm blueprint chart and unpacking, I'm actually going to include a link in the podcast notes, and you can actually order one. You can do a basic or a full chart, depending on what makes sense to you. And I'll just point out it's very time and energy intensive. I'm not currently doing the readings myself. My dad is doing them, but I know that there's a lot of energy and time put into them. And then you also get a full PDF report and unpacking. It's really quite amazing. So definitely, if it resonates with you and you see it as being, getting the keys to your vehicle, which definitely is, by all means, look forward to having you guys do that with us. And of course, I look forward to hearing from you with all of your comments and feedback. And of course, you guys know you can join our private online community at youtransformed.online, and we will see you guys there. All right, thanks so much, Dad, for being with us today.
You bet.